Welcome to this edition of Inside Fall River. Winter's behind us, spring is here, and we have a great opportunity for celebration right here in Fall River on Rock Street at Rock and Maple. And my guests are going to tell us more about what's upcoming at the Fall River Historical Society. It's a treasure in our city. It has been here for decades, centuries, it seems, and it really does provide us with great opportunities throughout the year. And we're going to be talking particularly about an upcoming opportunity. So let me first introduce my guest. On my far right, I guess the viewer's far left, is Michael Martins. Michael is the curator of the Fall River Historical Society. And next to him is the ever effervescent Kathy Rocket. Kathy is a development coordinator. What's your title?
Planner.
Events planner. Okay, and Kathy and I have a long history. I've known her since she was just a little girl, and she's still a little girl.
That's true.
And she's been a main part of the success of the Historical Society. Success? She's been a main part?
She has. Yeah, she's an amazing, well, you've known her since childhood. So
Right.
You know how amazing she is. So.
Good, good. Yeah. Well, let's first, Michael, give us a little background on how the Fall River Historical Society has come to be and why it has such an important presence in our city.
The Historical Society was founded in 1921, and since that time, the Society has amassed a major collection of artifacts pertaining to the history of the city of Fall River. We also have a very extensive research library. And of course, many people think of the Historical Society as just Lizzie Borden, and we're really far more than that. I mean, we are the central repository for material pertaining to the Borden case. But in addition, there's a vast collection of historical items, textiles, paintings, 19th century decorative arts. It's a major, major collection. The research collection alone, to give you a sense of the size of the collection, in just photographic material, we have in excess of 20,000 images from the dawn of photography going right to the mid-20th century. So it is a major, very important collection.
That's wonderful. And the building itself has not always been on Rock Street. I understand originally it was on Columbia Street?
On Columbia Street. It was built in 1843 on Columbia Street by Andrew Robeson, who was a New Bedford gentleman, built it as a wedding gift for his son. And the house was moved in 1869-70 by Mr. Robert Remington. And then it was home to the Brayton family until it came into the Historical Society's possession in 1937.
So initially that just was a home?
It was a private home, yes. At that time, Fall River was a major textile center. We were the largest producers of cotton cloth in the entire world. There was plenty of money in Fall River for some people, a very small segment of the community, and they were living up there in the hills, so the Brayton family had a great big beautiful house, and fortunately it became home to the Historical Society.
Great. Also, we here at Fall River Community Media have been a partner in some of your cultural activities, some of the entertainment that you've provided. In fact, Bristol Community College, where we're located, has been the site of some of your lecture series. So talk about a little bit about those cultural activities and how they've been received by the public.
Well, over the past couple of years, the Historical Society really realized that in order to survive, and to survive as a nonprofit in a very difficult economic climate, it's not easy. So you have to sort of reinvent yourself. So one of the things we've been doing is we're becoming a leading purveyor of cultural events to the people of Fall River and certainly to the Fall River area. So we do a number of events, concert series. We do the lecture series at BCC, which is really very popular. We do some really fabulous holiday events, and then Kathy has a great committee that she put together, and so we're doing children's events, and really the idea is that you have to make people need the Historical Society. People will have to come to the Historical Society for various events, and then they'll want to support the organization because there will be something there for them. And it's been extremely successful. I mean, the concerts we do in conjunction with the city and Greater Fall River Recreation, and we've had as many as 400 people, turn out for a Saturday evening concert, and it's top quality entertainment and really a fabulous event.
Yeah, I can attest to those. I didn't miss one of them.
Yeah, they're great.
I had a regularly established seat that I gravitated to, and it was great fun this summer. Kathy, explore a little bit further the kinds of activities that you've worked with and for children. What kinds of things?
Well, we do the Easter Bunny tea in April. At Christmas time, we have quite a few things. We have a Tea with Mrs. Claus that's very, very popular. And in fact, this year we're going to close the Eastern Tea Room, and it's just going to be for the tea. Ordinarily, we've had it open for the public for one room and the first two, but it's come to the point where we need to use the whole facility. We also have a meet and greet with Santa, so and people can come in the setting of the Historical Society in front of the trees and have their pictures taken with Santa and Mrs. Claus, of course. And that, this was our second year, and we've noticed a lot of people, regular people, coming back so that they can have the same Santa. Not necessarily the tree in the background, that always changes at the Society.
Sure.
And I should tell you that the Society won an award for their trees this year.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Well deserved. How many
did.
trees, in fact, do you decorate?
Last year we had, I think, 7.
7
The largest
trees.
was 14 feet high, and that one actually won a second in an international tree decorating competition.
Wow,
The
wonderful.
tree that came in first, I think, was from Bangkok, but we won second. And I think one of the reasons it was second and not first, not saying that we should have had first, but I think we should have, obviously. It was a fabulous tree. But the Historical
one was
Society,
it?
was the Symphony in Silver and Snow. It was the large white tree in the back room, 14 foot high, covered in snow. It was an amazing tree. But it was a professional decorating competition. And, you know, we're the staff of the Historical Society, the curators and volunteers, so we're not professional designers. So we had a second and not a first, but the second was fabulous. It'll be great for marketing purposes. So.
Sure, and competing
You know.
against professionals.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's great. So we have, I understand, a great exhibit coming up. This is a repeat of last year's exhibit. It's called Art and Artifacts in Bloom. We were hoping to have one of the florists here,
Yes.
but illness has prevented that from happening. But I do think we have some visuals from last year's, so we are going to show those while we're speaking about
Wonderful.
this. But tell us about that exhibit, either of you, and what it entails and why it's so unique.
Well, we had thought about doing it for some time, and you find that many major institutions, major museums in major cities will do a show called Art in Bloom, and they will take paintings from their collections, and they will have floral designers come in and do an original piece based on something in that particular painting. But inevitably, when you go to the shows, they're oftentimes landscapes or paintings of women holding flowers. It gets kind of staid after a while, so we wanted to mix it up a little bit. So we have sort of a unique twist, and what we do is we take items from the collection in addition to paintings. So it's art and artifacts. So it could be textiles, it could be porcelain, it could be almost anything. And then the floral designers will do pieces based on, you know, something that they take away from that particular artifact.
Great. Well, my counterpart, my colleague, Marianne Goulat, is also a volunteer at the Historical
Yes.
Society, and
Yes.
she did a past edition of Out and About, her program, filming this. And you have quite a few florists that participate.
Yes.
How many florists? And if you'd like to name a few, you're welcome
Well,
to do that.
last year we had 14 designers, and some of them are florists with shops, and other are people who do private work. And it was an amazing concept. The feedback was really amazing, and the designers initially, when we started the whole process, you know, the first time you do something, you're not sure what the reactions are going to be. So we looked at lists of designers, and we had people recommended to us, you know, by various individuals who we knew were at a certain level. I mean, obviously you want people who are very skilled at what they do, and the results were spectacular. I mean, it was an amazing show.
Great.
And it's not just the visual. The general public will learn a lot about different things from Fall River.
Sure.
Especially this year, where we've paired pieces up, and we're going to have quite a bit of information about those pieces. You know,
So there's a definite background story. So when you're looking at a painting, you just look at the painting and look at this beautiful arrangement. I mean, there will be text, so you'll know what the background story is to the arrangement, and then the designers also give us a quote as to what their inspiration was, so that looking at it, you'll have a sense of, exactly what the piece is, and you can take considerably more away from it simply because you know what the backstory is, you know what the history of the piece is. And then everything in the show has some connection to the history of Fall River, because the Historical Society's collection is unique in that scope. One of the requirements for collecting is that everything in the collection has to have some connection to Fall River. So if it wasn't manufactured here, it had to have belonged to Fall River people, so that there's a definite connection to the city with every piece that we have in the show.
Yeah, well, having been there last year, it is quite an exhibit. Whose idea was it to bring this to the community?
Well, you heard about.
Right, I was
Museum of Fine
familiar,
Arts does it, so.
all the major museums, the Med and the MFA and certainly Philadelphia Art Museum, they're all doing it. And we thought it would be interesting to bring something like that to Fall River. I mean, culturally, there are a tremendous number of people in this area who are really interested in shows like this, and there's a definite need for them. And we thought about it for a couple of years, and last year decided to bite the bullet and to go ahead and to try to secure the funding so that we could do the show. And worked on it for several months. And
Great.
And Bay Coast Bank helped us.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
immensely.
sponsors. Who are the sponsors for this?
Bay Coast
exhibit?
Bank, it's really their show. I mean, Bay Coast Bank, great to work with. They have a very close working relationship with the Historical Society. And we pitched the show to Nick, and he, Nick Christ, who's the president and CEO, and he immediately embraced the idea. And they underwrote the show last year, and they've done the same again this year.
Excellent. Well, Bay Coast has been a great community asset, and Nick Christ
Very much
seems
so.
to be
Really.
involved in everything that's,
He is.
that's moving forward in this town.
And what's fun about this show for the general public, so if the public wants to come and view it, they vote on the pieces. And we've grown on that aspect because last year we had the name of the florist with their piece. And this year we've learned that it's not a popularity contest as
see.
much as a visual. So this year the florist's name will not be with the piece, and the public will be able to just vote on what they feel is the best piece.
Well, that's
They'll
great.
vote,
That's great.
Vote by number.
So there's a unique twist to the exhibit, I understand?
There is,
that?
because we offer a cash prize. I mean, most of these shows are juried shows, and I suppose you have a blue ribbon or something. I don't know what they give you. But in this case, we have the first, second, and third prize. The $500, $250, and $100. And that's sort of unheard of.
So in addition to getting bragging rights, they actually get something they can spend.
Exactly. It's interesting. The florist that took first prize last year was Cologne's in Portsmouth. And when we contacted them this year, in fact, they told us last year that they definitely were in this year because they had to come back and defend their title. So,
Sure.
so it's kind of interesting how it's taken off. And as Kathy said, when visitors come in, they're given a ballot, one ballot per visitor, and then they will vote. One vote as to what their favorite piece is. We tabulate those, and no one at the Historical Society votes, so it's completely above board. And it's just kind of interesting because the viewer can come in and take part in the show that way. So
Great. Now, who selects the items specifically from the Historical Society that are used in this exhibit? Is that a committee or
no,
individuals?
it's not really a committee.
A committee of one?
Pretty much,
Yes.
to a point.
Who might that one person?
real
That one
one.
might be me. I'll usually pull a selection of items, and then Kathy and Dennis Bennett, who's my assistant, the three of us will go over them and then decide which pieces that we'll use. Like this afternoon, for example, we have to look at some clothing from the Society's collection to select, a few pieces. And most of the stuff has some connection to flowers or nature, or so that a florist can look at it and come away with something. Although this year there are a couple of things that have no flowers in them at all. So
Sometimes I remember it being color too, that if someone
Exactly.
is wearing a particular outfit that has a striking red or
Yes.
floral arrangement such as you're wearing,
Yes.
then that would be picked up.
yeah, she did that intentionally.
Yeah, she I think borrowed it from Bradford Matthew Shaw and Durfee. in
Probably
fact.
did, yeah.
Didn't he have that in his closet?
Red and black. So
So how do you pair a designer with a piece? Do the designers have some role in that process?
no, which is also unusual because most of the museum shows, they will on a certain day put out a list of the paintings or the pieces that they have available, and then it's basically first come, first serve. So the first designer to contact them has their choice. again, we wanted to mix it up and make it a little more competitive. And I think, sometimes when you make something competitive, you get that much better work out of, out of people. So we take 2 bowls basically, and we put the names of the designers in one, and then a piece of paper with an artifact in another, and we just draw them.
Oh.
So no one knows what they're going to
Well,
get.
it really challenges the florist.
Very
then
much
to,
so. Very much so.
And interesting
So-
enough, none of the florists have ever,
Objected to that
no,
process.
no,
No.
they go along with it.
No, it's interesting because when they, when you first talk to them, and we have a couple of new designers this year, and they said, "Oh, when can we come in and select our pieces?" And I said, "Well, you can't." Like, well, what do you mean we can't? So we don't do it that way. And fortunately, as Kathy said, no one has seemed to object to the pieces that they've received, and it really causes them to sort of think out of the box. So, and that's what it's all about.
The florists that you use, are they predominantly Fall River florists? Are they from a wide geographic area?
It's completely regional. Completely regional. And this year we had some people who contacted us who had heard about the show and wanted to take part. And actually, we do have 13 designers this year. We were hoping to expand this year. We were going to be doing the opening reception outside in a tent, a heated tent. But because of the snow and the ground being soft, we opted not to do that this year. So we're going to use the double parlors as a gallery, and it's just enough. And really, it takes a considerable amount of time to go through and read the text and look at the flowers. And last year we found that with people coming in, it might be a husband and wife, and they each had an idea as to what the winning piece should be. And they were arguing, as to trying to convince each other as to who they should vote. No, they were arguing, Kathy. So it was just kind of interesting to see that, that sort of
Interaction, sure, and that's part of what you want to
And
have
also,
happen.
our florists are all, Bay Coast Bank has a large territory, so we tried to encompass.
That area.
Right. So we have them from, Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and one girl's coming in from California, actually.
Wonderful.
She was a local girl who was engaged and left the area. She's coming back to do a wedding, so she's extending her stay so that she can partake, participate in the show. So
It's not a long exhibit, it's a 3-day.
Yeah, we want to get to the details of when this is happening, and people should know that it's a free exhibit. People can go without paying admission.
Oh, no, there is an admission.
Oh, there is an admission.
Oh, for the show, there is an admission.
Was
yes.
there last year?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The admission is $8 for Historical Society members and $10 for non-Historical Society members.
Great, well worth it though.
Yep.
Indeed.
Oh, it's and considerably less than what you would pay to see a comparable show in some of the larger museums. It was interesting as well because last year we had several people come in who there were a group of people who do the flower circuit. And there's a definite circuit of flower shows done mostly at historic homes or for the most part major museums. And a number of people came in last year who clearly were extremely adept at judging flowers. And they said, we've been up to the show at the MFA and there are not many pieces comparable to what we had in Fall River. And that's because most of the museums are using garden club members or just people who are interested in flowers who aren't necessarily professional designers.
Right.
And we try to stick to professional
So it makes a
designers. So it
difference.
makes a big difference.
Sure.
But we
It
do
also
have
makes
the-
it more difficult. We do have the Fall River Garden Club
Yes.
participate because we definitely want Fall River. And the piece they did last year was phenomenal.
Yeah, they
Absolutely
do
beautiful.
a wonderful job too with many of the
Talented
greens
ladies.
around town.
Yeah.
Who judges and who picks the winner?
The people. The people do
Totally.
the judging,
Okay.
and they pick the winner.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with that at all. As I said, we give them a ballot and they drop it into a box, and at the end of the show, we tabulate those and draw first, second, and third based on that.
Well, we've got about 10 minutes left, and I wanted us, before we wrap up, to a little bit more about some of the examples you had last year, and what were some of the kinds of creations, and what were the pairings with those creations?
The piece that won first last year, for example, their selection from the Society's collection was a monumental 19th century Chinese cloisonné temple vase on a hand-carved teak base. It was absolutely beautiful, and it had these medallions in the center with dragons.
Now, this is a vase that you have.
This is in the Historical Society's collection, and it was from a Fall River home, and it's a major piece. And absolutely beautiful colors it's really striking. And we had no idea what they were going to do with it. And and we don't know until they bring the arrangements in. I mean, the designers might come in and look at the piece, but they brought in a dragon. And it was, probably yay big, and it was this absolutely magnificent dragon, all done in flowers. but it had claws and it had teeth, and it looked just like one of the medallions in the, in the temple vase. It was incredible.
And which florist created that?
That was Carlone's. That was Carlone's in Portsmouth, and they won first. There was another designer from Rhode Island, and she had a Fall of Line steamer painting by Antonio Jacobson of the Fall of Line steamer Priscilla. And again, it's sort of challenging because there was nothing floral in this at all, some great color, but nothing floral. So we had no idea what she was going to do with it. And she brought in an arrangement about that wide and maybe that high, Kathy?
Yeah.
And it was the ship, all done in flowers.
She reproduced
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Even the smoke coming out of the smokestacks, she did in Morning Glories, I think they were. It was incredible.
Now, you mentioned some of the reaction of the audience with the husband and wife example, but what kinds of reactions have you gotten from the people that come to the exhibit?
Pretty pleasing. I mean, people loved it. They didn't know what to expect either.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't know what to expect, and they...
Well, it was the first time you've done it last year, right?
Yes, so they had no idea what to expect, and we didn't know what to expect. I mean, we had no idea what the designers were going to bring in, and when people walked into the rooms, they were just, floored, I think, by the quality of the work.
But it's going to be interesting this year because they would go up to a piece last year and go, oh, Ray's Florist. Oh, wow, look what they... But this year they're not going to know what Ray's Florist has done. So it'll be interesting to see what the reactions will be.
Sure.
To the paintings.
I'm surprised the florists are so receptive to this because
their suggestion.
They prefer it.
Really?
Their
Yes,
suggestion.
they want
yeah.
the objectivity.
Exactly.
Of,
It makes it much more of a competition, and people going in are voting on the quality and the artistic merit of the piece as opposed to loyalty to any particular designer.
Will there be a listing, though, of the florists that are
We will have a
Yes.
list of the
Yes.
designers, but not associated with the piece.
well, that's good.
And that's how it's done in most of the Newport Flower Show and a lot of the major shows. It's always done by number.
So what are some of the pieces from the Historical Society's collection that are being chosen?
Oh, this year? Oh, it was some amazing stuff this year. There's a very large mid-19th century Chinese embroidered panel with two goddesses. They're actually Taoist deities. And in the process of researching these deities on this panel, we found out just by chance that one of them is actually the Chinese patron of florists. So, I mean, what are the chances of that happening?
Right,
Which is kind of cool.
right.
So, and it's a magnificent panel, never been exhibited at the Historical Society before. So, and that was in a Fall River home down on Cherry Street. Actually, they had an Asian grotto in the basement of their home,
Really?
with a koi pond, and they had Asian house servants, and then had this panel.
Where on Cherry Street was this house, or is this house?
The house is still standing. I would have to look up the address for you.
Yeah.
I think it's a bunch of apartments now, but it was the Wetherill family that lived in it, a very prominent family. So there's a beautiful panel. We have some clothing from the 1930s. A number of paintings. There's the schooner Lizzie H. Brayton, which sailed out of the port of Fall River, named for a Fall River woman. But along with that, we have a miniature painted in Germany on porcelain of Miss Brayton, the person the ship was named for. So it makes it a little more interesting. I think one of Kathy's favorite things is
Yes.
the portraits with the locket.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's my favorite thing because it's sad.
It's very poignant.
Very sad.
There are a pair of portraits of a Fall River man and his wife, and she's wearing a heavy gold locket in the painting. We have that locket in the Historical Society's collection, so that's being exhibited along with the photographs that are in the locket, and there's a very poignant meaning to those two photographs and why she had them. So we'll be telling that backstory. So
it
some
remains to be
interesting
seen.
stuff. You have to go to the exhibit and see it. Sure, there is porcelain and paintings and textiles and some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So now that you've whetted our appetite, when can we see this great exhibit? What are the dates, and is there an opening?
There is. The opening is Saturday, the 25th of April, and we're doing two openings because it was so mobbed last year. It was really
It
popular.
became an issue for some of the attendees because they didn't have enough time to look at the pieces and move on. So we decided to break it up.
And do two. So we're going to do a 3 to 5 session and then a 7 to 9. And it's really lovely. We have very nice refreshments and a really delicious sangue di Giuda. It's a nice Italian dessert wine that we have brought in. And all the pastry is floral inspired. And that there'll be a harpist playing and then a violinist. And It's
At
20.
both openings?
One will have
One
a
will have a
harpist.
harpist, the other will have the violinist. And that is $20 for Historical Society members and $25 for non-members.
We
And
also have the water coming.
that's interesting too. It's a new
Yes.
product called Blossom Water that's really being introduced to this area for the first time. And the people that own the company are up in Great Barrington, so they're going to come down and serve their water, which is a water that's infused with floral extracts. It's amazing stuff.
And visually, the bottles
Bottles
are
are beautiful. They hired an artist. They hired a botanical artist to actually do illustrations of the correct species of flower that's in the water, which is kind of amazing.
So this is Saturday, the opening opportunity, and
Right.
then
And
that was April 25th, right?
Yes.
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 Okay.
And then open to the public for viewing Sunday and Monday. So
Okay.
Sunday the 26th from 10 until 5, and then Monday the 27th from 10 until 8 p.m.
And this was also the florist's request, because last year we had it too long. So they were having to come in after work and fix up their pieces, because of course the first day it looks great. By the third day it wasn't.
Well, if anyone wants any more opportunity to shake away the winter blues,
Sure.
this would be a time to do it. So
Right.
coming up Saturday, April 25th, the opening, that's going to be exclusively for the ticketed prices that you mentioned.
Right.
Yes.
And then the public opening Sunday and Monday, beginning at 10 a.m., going until 5 o'clock on Sunday and until 8 p.m.
Yes.
on Monday. Do you find any student groups that come in?
Oh, we do actually. We have a group that just booked, and they're going to be coming in from one of the area schools that has a horticulture department. And it's kind of interesting because the students are going to be participating in a similar show at their high school.
Wow.
So they're going to be able to come in and see some of the
Which high
professional
school
designs.
did you say?
I should know that, shouldn't I?
Well, possibly.
No, it's where Wendy teaches.
That's Bristol Aggie, isn't
No,
it?
no, I should know it and I don't, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
sorry.
all right.
But
Well, it's
they
an
just
area
booked it
high
this morning
school.
actually, but it's one of the trade schools in the area. So
Oh, good,
Yep.
good. Well, we really are down to our last few minutes. I'd like to talk maybe a little bit beyond the focus of this exhibit to the support for the Historical Society itself. It's a nonprofit organization.
Yes,
Many people
very
think of
much
it
so.
as a governmental entity.
Of course.
It's not.
No, because we're Fall River Historical Society, people think that we're, a city agency, which of course we're not. And we do have a good, close working relationship with the city. That the Historical Society has maintained, a working relationship with every administration since 1921. I mean, it just makes sense because we are the central repository for artifacts pertaining to the history of Fall River. So, but we are a nonprofit, and really it's difficult because we're not a wealthy organization. So we have to do as many events as we can to just keep the doors open.
And to be a member, you have an annual membership?
We do. We do have a membership, and we have over 700 members across the country.
And
plus a
anyone
lot
that
of
wants
local
to
people.
join is welcome to come
Anyone that
and
wants to
contact
join
you?
is welcome, and contact the Historical Society or visit our website, which is fallriverhistorical.org. However, the new website, or lizzieborden.org, but the new website is, our website currently is down because we're having a new one designed, which will be up in the next few weeks.
Yeah, well, when
And they
you-
can like us on Facebook. There's a lot of
Definitely like us
information
on Facebook.
Facebook.
Good, good. Okay, well, in wrapping up these last 30 seconds, let's just recap. Saturday, April 25th,
Yes.
the opening for anyone that wants to participate, $20 at $25.
Yes, for members and
And they
non-members.
do have to call the society for that. because
Okay,
we have a
make
cap on it.
reservations required. And then on Sunday, the 26th, and Monday, the 27th, public is invited to come and see this fantastic exhibit.
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy, Michael, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Thank you for watching Inside Fall River, and make a point of visiting the Art Association this month, April 25th, 26th, and 27th. You'll be very happy at what you see. Again, thank you. This is Steve Camara, and this is the April edition of Inside Fall River.